Stella Oduah is a Nigerian senator from Anamabra State. She was the Minister of Aviation during the administration of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Notwithstanding the controversies during her tenure, she has been credited for revamping the aviation sector and airport terminals nationwide. Senator Oduah, there is a current scandal, so to say, involving a 9 billion naira contract that the EFCC is said to be investigating. Can you give us an insight into what is really going on?
To a large extent, your guess is as good as mine. I do not understand the reasons behind that. I read it in the paper just as you did. And so I would like to know the details of what that is all about. But let me just say a couple of things. One is that a minister in any ministry does not initiate a project. A minister does not process documents. You have a system within every ministry that procures, that ensures that job is implemented, and ensures that payment is made when jobs are done. So it's a huge and a very lengthy process. And that process itself is warehoused not just in the ministry, but that is where you have the memory. And so if EFCC is looking for any document, is looking for anything that has to do with the process that a project has gone through, all they need to do simply is to ask for the documents and call all the actors along the line. So saying minister awarded a contract, it's unfounded. Minister does not even sit on the board on tender board. No minister sits on a tender board. So it's an incomplete and unfair statement to say such. And I want to believe that it couldn't have come from a responsible agency like EFCC. I want to believe it's a mischief. I want to believe that because we are in a political season, many things are happening, and this happens to be one of the things that are happening. Detractors and all that, and people who are afraid. And don't forget also, we are from a minority, so to say, party. And so throwing and looking for scapegoats, this is the season for that. Things happen.
You slammed, if I recall a while ago, you slammed the Nation newspaper for libel when this story initially broke out. Who is against you?
Many. Some unknown and some known. And so until their faces, because now they are under the table and some under the mask. But very soon the faces will start showing, particularly those who are afraid of the election that is forthcoming, particularly the opposition party, because it's sad that people have forgotten that the important people in election are the people, and people will know who has performed, and people will know who they want to. And I think that's the essence of the whole electoral law being changed, being reversed to the extent that power should go to the people. And so the people will assess contestants, people will assess the campaign adequately, and who they feel will adequately and effectively represent them should emerge. So those who are afraid of coming out to campaign, those who are afraid that power has gone to the people, are going to do anything, including what I believe they are currently doing.
For those who form opinions based on what they read in the newspaper, for instance, and who genuinely believe that something is actually wrong. Let me even take you back a little while. A lot of people actually continue to question your defense of your tenure and the issue of the BMW procurement scandal, which led to your exit during the last cabinet. It always comes up. I'd like you to tell us what the issue really is.
That I am not even defending, because there is nothing to defend. Nobody procured the BMW. I did not ride on BMW, not even for one day. I wish I had, though. It's a beautiful car. And the car was on hire purchase for the simple reason that the agency lacked the funds to be able to procure. And when you don't have funds to procure a particular equipment that you are in their need of, what do? You hire purchase. And that gives you the usage of the equipment without parting with the fund that you of course don't have. That was exactly what happened. And the agency asked for an approval to proceed with that. And my response was yes, that they should do the needful. That includes ensuring that they go through the process. And I believe they did. And as a minister, they need not come back to me, because they have been instructed to process. When they finished and they got the vehicle remained with the agency as I speak to you. Several ministers that have come after me have used the vehicle, including their visitors. So no crime was committed, including the EFCC themselves had investigated this matter extensively. The former NSA investigated it very extensively, and no crime was committed. I did not buy the BM. I did not drive the BM. It was at the peak of the airport reform, rehabilitation, and many people panicked. Don't forget, a year after we became ministers, I won the Best Minister award. That panicked a whole lot of people. We were doing reforms that people felt was going to disrupt their business. That was a major issue. The union were upset on the leakages we are blocking. That was a major issue. So all the dead bodies were coming from left, right, and center, and I was in the middle of the storm. So it was an easy thing for them to target this minister. Why do you even want to change the anomaly? The anomaly was fetching a lot of money for different people from different concessions that were wrong, the dilapidated airports that were unusable, and so airport was just gulving money. It was money down the drain. I knew from my holistic analysis of aviation that aviation is catalyst to economic growth. I knew that aviation should be contributing to our GDP, at least 15%. I knew that if properly rehabilitated and reformed, aviation should give us a window to dominate the sub-Saharan market and the re-export market. It was huge opportunity, and the value chain was just immense. My focus was for us to not have potential loss as we have been encountering, but to put aviation into proper use. And I want to proudly say that we did well. We did very, very well. In less than 2 years, we were able to revamp literally all the airports from Lagos to Sokoto to Maiduguri. It was hard work, but it was something that we had to do. Majorly also because aviation for me should personify transformation, because I coined the word transformation for Goodluck administration. And so if I'm the main advocate of that, I should personify that. And so day and night, we were working to ensure that we had holistic reform of aviation, including the ones you don't see, the ones that are behind the terminals, your safety, the training of personnel, the security aspects. All was to ensure that we improve on our safety rate, and we won an award for that. ICAO gave us approval for the first time. The presidency of Nigeria becoming a president of ICAO was made available to us. Easily we won it, and we were exemplary of how terminals, airports, and aviation can truly be catalysts to economic growth of a country. Our navigational aids, we completely overhauled them, changed them. They were so dilapidated. And so pilots could not see the ground. Landing was a major issue. Accidents were just happening so rampant. All these we did to ensure that we provided safety of passengers. Because in aviation, they have a say, if you think accidents, if you think safety is expensive, you wait until accident happen. The magnitude of loss will be just so heartbreaking. And so we went head on to ensure that we did holistic. Customers and passengers' comfort was prioritized. The safety was a major issue to us, that passengers, when they board an aircraft, they should feel safe, they should feel comfortable. And not only that, that in doing that, Nigeria should earn money in all that. And so we completely expanded what we had. For instance, Lagos, we expanded Lagos to about 150%, both arms. We ensured that the terminal itself wears the face of the terminal at little or no cost. Because we did our cost evaluation on what we did, the value of money on what we did was just amazing. I don't know how we did it, and mine is to say congratulations to about 400 plus Nigerian contractors that were part of the team that made this work.
Some people will argue that you were only interested in the terminals. For instance, when this administration started, they had to shut down the entire runway at Abuja Airport. Why were you not interested in that runway?
It's not true. You could do to the extent that you have money available. We did holistic revamp. That they could even do the runway to that extent was because huge amount of work was done before that time. There was no aspect of aviation that we did not. Navigational aids, the flight system, the runways, the Lagos runway. The problem was just legion. Everywhere we met a decay aviation in tatters. It was horrible. Sometimes lights would be taken, this would not be working. And so we prioritize how we were able to do so. Don't forget, we were working within the envelope of budgets. So you couldn't do all at the same time. But why the terminal was important and the navigational aids were important, because you're talking about comfort and safety. And those are key to aviation. Just like your house, if you have a visitor, the first impression they have of you is the time you open your living room door and they come in. Whether they are welcome, whether you're clean, whether the venture is going to go to the next level, that is the first impression they get of you. Therefore, any visitor that comes to Nigeria and flies into Nigeria, the first impression is the airport, the terminal. Ours was a misrepresentation of us as a nation, and we had to clear it. Recall how Abuja Airport used to be, Lagos Airport used to be. Sometimes you literally have to bend your head to cross some of those things. And navigational aids, we had disconnect between the flights and the control rooms. All those we had to rectify. The worst of them was training. We had aged skill gap, huge skill gap. And so we had to retrain and reemploy to ensure that safety doesn't stay in the background. And so the investigation department as well was improved to ensure that they had all the equipment necessary to be able to stimulate incident and accident when they happen. In fact, we are the only country in this sub-Sahara that has such equipment. And so for any incident and accident, it could be reprogrammed where the actual could be seen. It doesn't happen. One of the importance of that is that it's not just to investigate, it's to ensure that it does not reoccur. All these were what we had to do to ensure we did holistic revamp of aviation sector in less than two years. It was hard work. If we had sufficient fund, we would have done that. And then recognizing that we lack the space to become the hub, we now know that some airports you no longer can expand. We need to have new international terminals. And we started with 5 simultaneously. Good thing, the Chinese were willing, Chinese Nigerian Bank, and we went to China. It was country-to-country loan. The Ministry of Finance led the team to negotiate with Chinese government and Chinese Nigerian Bank, and that's how come we have these 5 airports. I'm happy each time I'm traveling to see that they've gotten to the stage, or before then they were actually to be completed 2016, but be it as it may, we are told that it's going to be completed 2018. Fingers crossed it will be. We need good airport. We deserve good airport.
What would you say were your landmark achievements during the last year as minister?
My landmark was making aviation the pride of Nigeria, truly representing who we are. But I think it will be keeping Nigerian flyers safe. That I think we were able to accomplish. And the awards and the accolades prove the fact that we were able to accomplish that.
The present Minister of Aviation, Hedi Sirika, has requested an extra $500 million to correct design anomalies for one of the projects which you initiated, at the new International Airport Terminal in Abuja. He said it was poorly planned.
I think it's a very, very unfair statement, to say the least. I think it's an incorrect statement, to say the least. The amount of work that went into that design, and by the way, the minister was a member of the Senate Committee on Aviation at that time, so I'm surprised he could say such a thing. The Chinese will not have, the Chinese, they're not irresponsible. They could not have approved that loan if those deficiencies were there. The Chinese looked at the loan, at the detailed drawing, they supervised it, they redid it, and they did it together with our consultants. And most of the consultants did it pro bono. That's the passion that went into that. So coming to say that it was poorly designed, it's a very, very unfair statement and totally unacceptable. I think the truth of the matter one of these days will come out, but that is not the truth.
There is a lot of narrative out there about the politically motivated investigation by the Ibrahim Magu-led EFCC against the senators. Actually, let me quote this day newspaper front page today. Do you agree that that's the situation?
No, I read it the same way you have read it, and the jury is out.
So do you have confidence in the current investigation being carried out by the EFCC, if any?
I think at the end of the day, the last hope of every Nigerian is the court. And so justice will be done. And I'll leave it at that. Like I said.
So you are in court at the moment?
No.
The Senate and the presidency has been at loggerheads over a lot of issues recently. Let's start with the INEC and the sequence of elections across the country ahead of 2019 elections. Is this amendment targeted at President Muhammadu Buhari?
Absolutely not.
And is the Senate ready to override the president's veto if push comes to shove?
I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of Nigerian Senate. It will be put to vote and decision will be taken. That is the process.
You were one of the most crucial in the elections of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, especially in 2011, if I recall, with the neighbor-to-neighbor movement that you led, winning a keenly contested election in a state like Anambra State. What does it feel like to be a woman in politics in Nigeria?
It's tough, very tough. I think for some reason you have this male conspiracy that women should not rise and women should not indeed be in politics. Reason I don't understand. But what I know for sure is that unless and until women are fully participating both in elective and selective positions, we will not have an equitable government. Women are very good in governance, women are patient in governance, and women understand why community and the nation should grow and will grow. The propensity for women not to progress their community is very, very slim. Men are not known and have not been known to do that. Currently, I'm the president of Female West African Female Parliamentarian. And part of our objective is to ensure that we mentor and encourage younger women to come into politics. And because that is the only way we can have our community developed, that is the only way we can have our nation progress, that is the only way we can see a fair nation, and that is the only way we can transform this nation. Clearly, men cannot do that. They have tried severally and they have failed us. So I think it's about time that women should get involved. We can't wait for men to give us power. People don't give out power, but women will have to take the power. After all, who are the men? They are the people that we give birth to. They are the people that we nurtured. They are the people that we trained. So if they are subject to all this, that we're in command, at what point did we become the lesser being? So we will go on campaign, we will go on advocacy, and we will have our conventions and summits to tell Nigerian women and African women in general that we need to march on. We need to take the power back from the men. Even if we don't, let's work as partners to make sure that we have a better country. And I think also for every female, no matter who they are, is for them to understand that only two things you need to be a good politician. Passion for your people, that comes naturally to every woman. Education, which I believe every woman should have. Girl child education must be promoted. Once you have these two, nothing, you don't need the muscles. If you want a muscle, you can hire bodyguards. If you want the fighting skill, you can hire people that will fight for you. But other than that, your head on your shoulder, your brain intact, sky will be your limit.
How have you been able to navigate through the checkered waters of grassroots politics, for instance? I mean, at your first attempt in Anambra, I always have emphasis on Anambra because it's one of the most difficult states in Nigeria when it comes to elections. Boom, and the next thing you are in the Senate.
It took a lot of hard work. When I left the government, I went home. I wanted to understand what the needs are. If I'm representing the people the least that is required of me is to understand them, how they think, their difficulties, because I will be their mouthpiece. I will be their representative. And so in doing so, I went and I lived amongst them for almost a year. And I went through every single community. I went by road, I went by bike, I ate with them, I slept with them. And so now I know them more than ever before. I know the lacks, I know the decay, I know the desperation, I know the passion. And so I live their life. And my responsibility is to ensure that I bring that to government. And that is why I sponsored a bill on constituency project. What is constituency project? Is a bill that will ensure that rural community is properly developed. That when budgets are made, we need to prioritize it as first line item, which means that the Minister of Planning, the Minister of Finance, except they are magicians, will know my village. My village is somewhere along the River Niger. They probably would not have heard of it. My sons tell me that they can't Google it because it's not on Google. But they are from this nation. They belong to this nation.
Is this a bill to add more money to the over-bloated pockets of the senators?
No, there is nothing like over-bloated money of the senators, and that's a different issue. No, money doesn't come to the senators.
How much are you paid?
Very little. I'll look for it and I'll show it to you. The money for constituency project does not go to senators. It does not go to legislators. It goes back to the ministry, i.e., my village will lack water, will lack light, will lack road. And so because I represent them and I know that my village, called Akle, a tiny village there, and my zone, tiny village with majorly farmers, that they lack several things. Therefore, it is my responsibility to go to the Minister of Planning and say, Honorable Minister, when you're doing your planning, kindly consider this village, that village, that village. Don't give them this huge project you want to give to them because it's not relevant for them. Don't give them NEPA because it's unaffordable. Don't give them transformer, it's not affordable. Give them that they can afford, renewable energy. Give them solar. If you want to give them road or you want to give them university, again, it is not as important to them as you giving them primary school where their children can go. Some children go as far as 5 kilometers just to go to primary school. So prioritizing and identifying what my community and zone require becomes my responsibility, and it becomes my constituency project. Who awards it is the ministry, is the executive. Who supervises it is the ministry, the executive. Mine is to identify, mine is to ensure that it is done. That is constituency projects.
Thank you, Senator Oduah. We'll come back to your bill. Thank you so much for your time.